Now, of course, back in the early 90s, Guns N' Roses and Nirvana were two of the biggest rock bands in the world. But it seems at the height of their fame, both bands could not coexist, with jibes being thrown back and forth between the two bands. And on this particular day back in 1992 at the MTV Video Awards, Kurt Cobain was sitting down with his wife Courtney Love and their daughter Frances with a whole bunch of friends. And it just so happened Axl Rose walked by.
And we were in the food tent, and I was holding Frances, and he came strutting by with 5 of his huge bodyguards and a person with a movie camera. And Courtney jokingly screamed out at him, "Axl, you be the godfather of our child." And everyone laughed. We had a few friends around us sitting there eating, and he just stopped dead in his tracks and just started screaming at us. Wow. All these abusive words.
Axl then said to Kurt, "You should shut your up," referring to Courtney. So Kurt turned to Courtney and said, "Shut up." At which point everybody began howling with laughter. Kurt said Axl then just kind of blushed and ran away. Next up, we look at the performance from Nirvana that night. Now, originally the band wanted to play Rape Me. But they weren't allowed to play that song. The MTV execs said they wanted them to play Teen Spirit. And in the end, they ended up doing Lithium.
God, the emotions that were going through us during that whole day were just so intense. Because up until just minutes before we played, we weren't going to play because we wanted to play Polly. We wanted to play Rape Me, and MTV wouldn't let us. And so they were just going to replace us if we didn't play Teen Spirit. And we ended up playing Lithium.
And this is, of course, the performance where Novoselic famously knocks himself out with his bass guitar. And it was after that song that the heat continued to build between the two bands, when Dave Grohl got on the microphone and started yelling out, "Hi Axl, hi Axl."
And then afterwards, Dave, after we were done playing our song on this, have you seen a copy of that?
It's really funny.
Yeah, Dave was screaming, "Hi Axl," and then Duff wanted to beat Chris up.
Hi Axl! Where's Axl? Hi Axl! Hi Axl!
And it was right before playing Lithium that night that Kurt did something that he thought would really get to Axl. He spat on his piano.
I spit on Axl's keyboards right before, because this stage, we were sitting on the stage that
really
brought us up. It was either that or beat him up. But we were down on this platform which brought us up hydraulically, on the stage, and I saw his piano there, and I just thought, oh, I have to take this opportunity. And I spit big goobers all over his keyboards. I hope he didn't get it off in time.
The only thing, as it turned out, that wasn't actually Axl Rose's piano. It was Elton John's. Elton John played 2 songs that night, his hit song, The One, and he also duetted with Axl Rose on the song November Rain. Maybe that's when Kurt spat on it. As you can see in this video, their 2 pianos are quite close together, coming up hydraulically. So it's quite possibly Elton John's white piano here that had Kurt's goobers all over it. And that's how the story goes. He thought he had spat on Axl Rose's piano, but actually he spat on Elton John's. Guns N' Roses would go on to win an award for Best Cinematography in a Video for their music video, November Rain. And Nirvana won 2 awards that night, both for Smells Like Teen Spirit, for Best Alternative Video and Best New Artist in a Video. So as I say, this was back in the early 90s. Both of these bands were 2 of the biggest rock bands in the world. They were so huge. Guns N' Roses with their massive release, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and Nirvana, of course, with Nevermind. But it seems that both bands could just not get along. If you can remember, Axl always used to wear that blue cap with Nirvana written on it in some of the interviews that he did. Well, one night on stage at a Guns N' Roses concert, he actually burnt that cap. So you get both bands bad-mouthing one another from time to time at their concerts. And at that time, there was a lot of animosity between the two bands. But, of course, as we know, Kurt Cobain passed away in April of 1994, and it has been widely reported that Axl Rose was deeply heartbroken at the passing of Kurt. Guns N' Roses managers had to stay with him at the time and spoke to him on the phone for hours about Kurt's passing, and felt that they had to stay by his side at this time. So it hit Axl hard. There was actually a time there where Rose wanted Nirvana to open for Guns N' Roses, but it just never happened. And so we fast forward to April of 2016. You guys can remember when Axl Rose broke his foot at the Troubadour on Guns N' Roses' big return. Well, Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl stepped up and he offered his guitar throne to Axl Rose so the band didn't have to cancel their Coachella and Las Vegas dates. So a nice touch there from Dave Grohl. And as a thank you gift for Grohl giving Axl that rock throne so he could continue on their music, Axl actually responded and gave Grohl a new guitar. It was a Gibson from like 63 or 65, quite a rare guitar apparently, Grohl says. And Grohl would use that guitar on the Foo Fighters' 2017 album Concrete and Gold. So a cool wee story there. And not only that, back in 2018, the Foo Fighters joined Guns N' Roses on stage for their hit song, It's So Easy. And it was really cool to see those two bands together play such an awesome song like that, showing that the old rift between Nirvana and Guns N' Roses is well and truly over. I guess when you're that young and you're both the hottest thing going on the globe at the time and you've got all that money, things can get out of hand and you can get carried away with the words that you say. And the whole thing was just a big media spectacle at the time. At least that's the way that I look at it anyway. But what do you guys think? Who was your favorite, Nirvana or Guns N' Roses? Who had the better songs, did you think? In my opinion, I think both bands were great. It's kind of hard to compare them because Nirvana was just like a three-piece. They did become a four-piece at the end, and Guns N' Roses were like a 5 or 6-piece, plus more bands, so totally different sounds. Guns N' Roses, obviously, with more members, they had a bigger sound, but Nirvana certainly pumped out a ton of sound as well with what they did. In my opinion, both great bands with a ton of legendary songs that will go down for all time. As always, thanks heaps for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next video.